Charles Knapp back with part 2 of the Alibi Elf, and we're probably going to have a part 3. I have to keep these short, but we're covering the smaller drawing on the Alibi Elf. We left off at Yin and Yang, which is Chinese, and it's about harmony, it's about opposites, how they work together to bring harmony, light and dark, stuff like that. So we left off talking also about this artwork right here, and you can see the blind justice, as we noted in part 1. He's blind because he's standing on an ace, and an ace also is right in front of his nose. So that's just kind of a play that you can think about. And Daniel Webster, as we talked about, was Black Dan. Notice he's holding books. That's the education part of the drawing. And giant gavel. So we have education and justice for all to see, and giant for all of that adds up to San Francisco. Now, we also identified this dot right here as an ace. It's at the end of the shadow or shadow line. So this drawing is set up to tell us that when you're near the site of the cask, your giant step will be 3 feet. You can see 3 papers here, and there's a whole bunch of 3s also on here on the other side. Now, it's ace to ace, so he's going to take a step 3 feet along the shadow line to get to the place the cask is kept. Place being a play on word, meaning ace to ace. We also alluded to the shadow off the drinking fountain, and you can see here this shadow comes off going east. The shadow on the pearl up above isn't in that direction if you compare the two. So is there a reason why that shadow is going that way towards the east? Well, 6 o'clock, 6 p.m., you're going to find out that shadow does go, in fact, to the east. The 278 is the azimuth, or the direction towards the sun. So that would be, you're looking west, you see the sun. Looking east is a shadow. So if you put the June number in there, actually go back to 81, and at 6 o'clock or 1800, you will see the distance of the shadow. The water fountain is actually 37 inches, which is 0.94 meters. Now, the other thing is this changes, the shadow changes slowly over a period of a few weeks in direction and size. But you put in the 1st of June, and you put in 1800 because 6 o'clock is what it says is the time on the clock. And let's see what that. Here's our drinking fountain. Now, what do we notice right away? This is an ace. You can actually envision a die. You know, one dice, one half of a dice, one die with a dot in it. That's an ace. So you can be stepping from here or from the corner, the direction of the shadow. That's what localization will do for you. And it's going to look something like this. I believe that the 5 is more over here and it's 3 from the corner, but you get the picture. The direction toward the east, and the shadow length is going to be around 6 feet by the calculation. That would be the total. And I believe that it's actually, that cask is actually further towards the fountain. And let's move on. Now, back to the main painting by John Jude Palancar. And if you envision this is the fountain, this is the top of the fountain, it's telling you the shadow to the east. Well, you follow the shadow and you'll see a leaf completely dark. It's in the shadow. And it's actually being used as a pointing device here. The artist is using it to point. Look down, what do you see? An X. Oh, X marks the spot. But you continue down that line, what do you see? It goes all the way to the cross. Cross means something buried. like in graveyards and that sort of thing. And you also notice the tail. And as we talked about before, you get a countdown coming down the tail. It circles around the loophole ace, and the tail, if you look closely, continues on and it points right to that spot. That's what we're being told in the art. So, so it'd be from this ace to the final place. Here's a closer up of that. The ace, you follow the tail around because you're not there yet. From the ace to the place where the cask is buried. Okay, there's plenty of other information in the drawings. People are just not seeing it. I don't know. Remember, we were told at the beginning, if you go back to part 1, in the eyes. Well, this eye's looking up here. This eye's looking over here. Now, is this just like a crazy old man? One eye goes one way and another eye goes another way? No. This eye is looking over here. And one eye is looking up here. Now, this part right here, this eye, I'm gonna call that the San Francisco eye. And you'll see why in just a second. This is why. Look at that. What does that look like? Oh, a drinking fountain. That represents the drinking fountain at Coit Tower. You see the water coming up here. But look at this right at the base. What do you see there? That's pretty obvious. It's a 5. What does that mean? 5 feet. We're back to 3s and 5s again, just like before. And there's the 5 again. 5 feet. The drinking. Okay, and we talked about the ace from West Ghost, which is a play on word, West Coast, which is San Francisco, and also the triangle. Okay, under West Ghost, what else do we see? Well, there's a small drawing as well. The most obvious thing that I picked up on this pretty quickly. What do you do if you remember the old water fountains? You turn them and the water comes shooting up at you. Goes up your nose or into your eyes. What do? You flinch. You put your hand up. But what is this guy doing? Is he just like drawing that to be funny, a funny drawing, a funny cartoon? I don't think so. So let's look at why that is. Why he's drawn that way. Okay, so we talked about the lady. She's flinching from the drinking water. The man, his left hand and arm are indicating really high, giant. The right hand has 3 fingers with distinct shadowing. Where else do you see that kind of distinct shadowing? In this art, you don't. So what's being indicated here? 3 feet in the direction. If you look, there's a line back here that goes up this way. And also something else we need to look at and see. Let's see if I have it here. I don't know if I have it on this. I may have to go back. No, let's go back for a second. Maybe I'll come to it on another slide. But this right here, this dot, that's an ace. And what's at the end of this line? You look at the art, there's a skateboard. And there's a dot. There's a couple dots on the wheel. Those are aces. So ace to ace, along the shadow line, 3 feet from the water fountain. So you can get a good idea. Just looking at the art, we're being told some information here. These are just not mumbo jumbo gibberish art in the back of the book. So we covered education and justice for all to see in part 1. And it's interesting to notice you can see education and justice from the starting point at Aquatic Bay, justice being Alcatraz. And you can also see that from Coit Tower, Alcatraz, and that's part of the first drawing with the man in stripes. Near ace is high. Okay, so we can see here the progression, and of course to the bottom we've covered it before. Giant pole, first of all, is Coit Tower. The giant step. Now here's where we transition via the small businessman. Small businessman to the water fountain is a giant pole, and a giant step to the place where ace to ace, the cask is kept. And lo and behold, if you take the so-called strawberry, turn it sideways, I mean, I've never seen a strawberry that looked, unless it got smashed somewhere in the grocery store. That's blue, and blue circles represents water. So you have water, and this is representing the fountain with the foot pedal. And if you look over here, you can pick out a 3 and a 5. Same two numbers again, 3 and 5, seeing it over and over and over again. Now you look at the shadowing and the light up above, you follow the light, you can see that shape right there, and that's the shape, pretty close, not exact obviously, of the water fountain. The top of the water fountain has one of those, it looks like a turtle shell up top. And this is, you know, here's the shadow difference we were talking about before. The shadow here is running towards the south, where the shadow on the clock is running to the east. Now, if you're an artist, you're not going to make that mistake. Come on. You know, that's not just an, oh yeah, something's not quite right there. Now, I didn't find that difference in the shadow. Somebody else did. Notice they were different. 3 and a 5 on this. It's an altered colors, but you can see the 3 and the 5 a little bit better. You also see some triangles over here. They may or may not be related to the triangles that we were talking about, 3, 4, 5 triangle. And what do we find in the painting by JJP? Off to the side, right side, in the background, kind of shady. That's Coit Tower. Oh, what a surprise. Put the Coit Tower in there, and there it is. What is the top? What is it at the top of Coit Tower, near the top? Wow, it's an ace. There are aces high at the top of Coit Tower. Giant pole, and there's our ace. I think this evidence is overwhelming. You look at the shape out the window, you can see Alcatraz in the distance. You can see the shape of the arc in the top of the painting. You find this arc in San Francisco. You also find it in New York, like bookends. If you've seen the bookends, the cheap ones, I bought some of the. I have some of the black bookends, and that's the shape. And that shape is in both New York and San Francisco. Again, it's linking the two together. Here's the shape. You can see it comes up, arcs around, comes back. Overwhelming evidence. Also, what do you see at the top of the painting by JJP on the rocks? Same shape window with bars. So if you were at the rock with bars, you're in Alcatraz. And you also, if you look closely, the different texture inside the blue lines is more of like concrete. It's not, doesn't have all these ridges and lines. So if you follow that up, it's more like a tower, and it's at the top. What do you find at the top of Coit Tower? Wow. I guess these are all coincidence, huh? Or are we just not paying attention? There it is again. All right, let's see where we're at here. Okay. You probably noticed the aces, the dice, on Damon Runyon. And there's all kinds of connections here. Damon Runyon is connected to New York. Go ahead and Google that. Gambling, jumping contest of celebrated frogs. That's a Mark Twain. The jumping frog of Calaveras County or something like that. Talks about the corner, and I mean, these things go on and on. These have keywords in them that lead us to the location of the cask. It talks about Columbus in here, mentions. Columbus was first across, right? San Francisco puzzle, first across. And what do you find in front of, or used to find in front of Coit Tower before they took it down? Statue of Columbus. Oh, I guess these are all coincidence. I don't think so. Here we show the aces, crossed legs. So from he's actually, is he going from ace to ace? Maybe. Racing form for gambling, Damon Runyon, Mark Twain. Okay, some more art, cartoon art in the back of the book. Not very many artists will draw an ear that look like that. And what do we see? An ace, an arc, and then this funny stuff here. And this almost looks like somebody, a chicken or something, putting their leg out, stepping on that dot, like they're stepping on, what are they stepping on? Pedal of a water fountain, perhaps? Maybe, maybe not. That's a little stretchy. Oh, what do we have here? Some more art from the back of the book. And if you look at this closely, you'll see aces high, dots up high. You'll see a giant. Remember, we said a giant links us to San Francisco and New York. And this is our typographical terror. That's what this represents. And we, as discussed, typographical terror, the typographical error is PL and ace. Put them together, place. And he's pointing up here to this dot and this comma, or this dot and this shape here. The dot is San Francisco and the other one is New York. The dot, we know, is an ace. Oh, and Keith Holliday pointed out this hat looks like a compass, maybe facing north, which is part of the New York puzzle. We're not going to go into that. Okay, the number three is seen throughout various places in the back of the book. Now, if you look closely at this photograph, you'll see a 3. You also see another number in there, a 5. Well, there it is again, 3 and 5. Now, these numbers were added in, probably after the photograph was taken. Oh, wow, yeah, guess what? Photos can be edited by editors. Editors can do that. They can make changes. They can put numbers in before it goes to print. Now, why is the 3 important? What's the average length of a leg? It's 3 feet. There's a leg. Boston. Puzzle. Obviously, after this was solved, and many people probably picked up ahead of time, that was home plate. And some people found the batter in the shadow up above. Now, if you have a home plate and a batter, do you need a leg showing home plate? No, you don't. So why is that leg there? Oh, it measures distance. Byron's using the leg for 3 feet. 3 feet from home plate, there's the cask. So, again, Byron gave us some really good clues to exact locations to these casks. Not, oh, the cask is in this field. Go get GPR or probe for 5 hours to find it. No, he gave us exact locations to these casks. We just need to find the clues, figure it out. Oh, lastly, Coit Tower, don't go digging around. Coit Tower was converted into federal property in 2008. When Byron buried the cask, it was city property. If you go up there, you better have permission to dig, or you're going to be in some pretty bad trouble. You might get arrested, or very least you're going to get ticketed. But they're not really happy to see people digging around and digging up parks. They have a permit system for digging at Golden Gate Park because so many people like to dig over there and they think the cask is over there. But Coit Tower is not available for that permit system. So you better get an archaeologist and get some real good permission before you go in there digging around. And I think this might be the last one. You can show from where we started, the ace to an ace. There it is. 3 fingers, 3 feet, and you see the shadow, you see a line. That's your shadow line. Flinching from the water fountain, the drinking fountain. So you can take a giant step, 3 feet, shadow line, from ace to ace in San Francisco, Coit Tower. Same message here. 3, you see the 3 papers that Nixon's holding? From ace to ace along the shadow line. Get your glasses. And that might be the last one. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.